Just on the time when we're going to get started, so I will put my clock here so I can see it and introduce the panel of my panelists. So I'll start by just letting you know what we're talking about, and then I'll go down the line here and we'll hear from each of our each of the panel in a moment. But I'm really excited about this because this panel has two incredibly inspiring marketers from some incredibly cool and innovative brands who are using insights and in particular automated fast and rapid testing to make their work better. And so I'm going to talk as little as possible and ask as many questions as possible of Rachel and Spencer, who you'll hear from in just a minute. Queue up your questions as well, because we'll try to save 5 or 10 minutes at the end out of the half hour to make it a bit of a dialogue. But the topic for today, which you know because you've come here, unless you're in completely the wrong space, is need for speed. How top brands are using real consumer data and rapid AI insights to fuel their marketing decisions. So I'll let you know really briefly who I am. I'm James Slezak, the CEO and founder of Swayable. I'll tell you a little bit about who we are. But before I do that, I've always been told a great panel or a great talk, you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them you told them. So this is what we're going to tell you. There's basically 3 main points that we're going to land here. The first, evidence from real consumers is more critical than ever. Second, that AI is accelerating the value of that evidence today by getting us to insight faster, not replacing the consumer. And third, that by doing early testing, major brands, innovative brands, are driving substantial improvement in their downstream decision-making. That includes the creative development, that includes the media plans, that includes the whole campaign. So you heard it up front. You'll hear more detail in a minute. But first, I'll just introduce myself. As I said, I'm James, but I have a fantastic team of marketers on my side now, and they made a little sizzle reel, so we'll play it to show off some of the creative from these guys and our platform. Play. So if you're wondering how that incredible creative got made, you're going to hear from the folks that made it in 1 second. My only creative brief for that sizzle video was make sure to include a cute Nom Nom dog video, just in a shameless attempt to win over the crowd, which I assume we've done. So I'll give you the 1 minute on who we are, and then I'll throw it to the real stars of the panel. Swayable builds this platform that you can see on the slide there. The value and the purpose of that platform is to prove if the creative that you're considering putting into a campaign will work. And not work in terms of get some clicks or likes. You don't need us for that. Instagram will tell you that. Meta will tell you that. TikTok will tell you that. But whether it generates lift, love for the brand, intent to purchase, the stuff that 90% of the biggest and most important campaigns are there to do, tell you in advance if it's going to do it. And then if it doesn't, you've got some time to make some changes. Or if you've got a bunch of options, you can pick the right ones and you can pick them for the segments that are going to work. So I promise it would be quick. That's the intro. I want to throw it now to Rachel to let us know who she is and what she's doing, and to show another cute dog.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Porges. I'm the Chief Innovation and Brand Development Officer at Nom Nom, which I say is CMO on acid. My job is mostly to grow the Nom Nom brand. I also oversee our CX, but I also work across a number of the Mars divisions on the Fresh platform. And so when we think about innovation and creative development or testing partners, we're looking for ways to get fast insights, both for ad creative, but I think you're selling yourself short. I think you have a platform that can do more than that. What we used Swayable for, I have a 25-year history in marketing and consumer communications. I've been a insights geek for a long time, and even this last week, I do some VC work on the side, and I help our portfolio companies find scrappy ways of getting insights. It's a passion for me. What we use Swayable for, and I was introduced to it through a networking group, was to help us figure out, as we were launching a new ad campaign, what we were going to... Are we going into this and introducing this whole thing? Yeah, okay. So what we were going to do with the new ad campaign. So Nom Nom has been around for about 6 years. We're actually a relatively small brand. I wish we were a top brand. We're a relatively small brand, but we have to be super efficient with our spend. We had an incredibly well-tested ad that we had been running for the better part of a couple of years, but we knew that there was some opportunity to improve communication on a few key consumer attributes. And so we took an old shoot, we recrafted it into a new ad and said, can we prove that it performs better? We also have an innovation coming out next week, which I did not bring the ad for today, that we wanted to test and make sure that that innovation would halo back to the brand. So using the already tested ad as a benchmark within Swayable, we tested our new ads against it. And I can show you what the new ad looks like, and we can talk about how we're using it. Oh. Can you hit play on the thing? Maybe? Well, I can't show you the ad. I lied. It's a really cute ad. It'll be on YouTube this week.
That was my bad. I should have checked that one. I only checked the first one.
Not a crisis. Nobody needs a shameless ad plug here, I'm sure. Can't get by this now. You may have to hit forward on the computer. We've not only frozen the ad, we've frozen the whole campaign. So anyway, what we did is we tested it. It proved to be equally as well tested as the old one, which is a pretty big achievement because when we had first tested the old one through a different ad testing platform, I sent it up through their ranks because I didn't believe it was as good testing as it was. There's no way an ad I had spent so little on had done so well. Now I have a second ad that we spent even less on that did even better. And it tested better on the attributes we cared about. And then I also was able to test our innovation ad and found that it had significant brand halo, even though the innovation's completely different. So for me, what I got is an ability to then pivot to my media agency and say, go. And within about 2 days, we had the results of this, and the next week we could optimize our media plan for it. I took fear and concern out of my media strategy in 3 days flat. And so that's worth the investment in some consumer insights. And what I think is amazing about this platform is it's real consumers. So I'm sure most of you have heard synthetic audience, synthetic audience, synthetic audience. It's wonderful if you have great synthetic audiences. You can get a lot of really good directional read. For me, what I wanted was real consumers and then the ability to query that information quickly to get actual insights that made my tiny team more efficient. That's what Swayable gave to us. So thanks.
Great intro. I really appreciate that. Before I throw it to Spencer, I'll give just one quick question. When you say work better, like, what's the definition of success there? Like, work better to drive the consumer to...
We needed to have equal purchase intent, or within reason purchase intent. But I had a set of brand attributes that I was trying to improve. We needed to add a little bit of gravitas back to the brand. We needed to be perceived to be more healthful or vet recommended, some things that we had sort of let slide in our past ad campaign in the name of excitement and positivity. And so when we put those attributes into the survey, we got those results back and could see where we improved on those metrics. And so to be able to take a standard survey, customize it just enough to give us the insights we needed and then get that result fast was just a win.
Amazing. So we've left you there silently on the end for 5 minutes. Spencer, would you like to tell us about the work you're doing with Intuit Mailchimp? And I still in my head, I told you this when we first met, I still always say Mailchimp because of that iconic... Does anyone know that campaign on Serial Podcast? A few hands, a few nods. Yeah, I always say it Mailchimp in my head because that adorable kid. But go ahead.
Classic. Okay, this is working. I am Spencer, as James said. I am a principal product manager at Intuit. I have been on Mailchimp for about a year. I've worked on QuickBooks, Intuit Enterprise Suite, and before that I was in CPG working at General Mills and the Hershey Company in brand management. And before that I was in tech. So I've jumped around a lot. Love both industries. Awesome opportunity to get my hands dirty with marketing and B2B, B2C. But wanted to talk today about what the value I've gotten from not just testing with Swayable, But how we've been doing insights at Mailchimp and Swayable is a key part of that. A lot of folks at Intuit use Swayable. I have colleagues on QuickBooks that use it on TurboTax. Mailchimp, we are heavy users of Swayable. It's been a key part of our process when it comes to early testing before we spend substantial budget on running ads, on changing anything on the web. Swayable has been a key component in helping us know what's actually going to drive KPIs that we care about, and getting those answers extremely quickly, as Rachel said, and as Rachel said, from real people. So the example that I wanted to talk about, a pretty straightforward one, or at least I thought it was a pretty straightforward one initially. We were looking at, we need to update our website, MailChimp.com. If you just went on the website right now on your phone, you'd see ultimately what I'm going to show you we landed on. We hadn't updated our website in a while. We hadn't updated the copy, something really basic. But when you look at metrics, a lot of people are looking at our website. LLMs are pulling from the wording that we use on the website. It was very important to thoughtfully think about what our headline and subheadline were. So we looked at a few different options, and these were all rooted in kind of strategically what we were looking at for MailChimp. The first one, SMS messaging. That's a big part of our roadmap, what we're trying to do. Learning curve. We kind of got away from the fact that we're simple, so we wanted to test that messaging, and then we had a few other ones. The third option there in the top right, that's what the control was. So we used Swayable to test those 4 different options with a panel of about 1,200 people, 1,200 businesses in different ideal customer profiles that we were looking at, specifically like e-commerce, entertainment and leisure, businesses that we were really trying to go after. We wanted to see which of these drove consideration, which of these would drive purchase intent, which would drive perception, key data points within different parts of the funnel. Swayable was able to take what we wanted to test and turn it around in 2 days, which was incredible. Ultimately, as I mentioned, what we landed on was email and SMS marketing minus the learning curve. Was that our favorite internally? No. It seemed pretty basic, but guess what? Businesses wanted to be told this information very quickly when they visited the website. It resonated. This is the kind of solution that businesses that we're going after want. So ultimately, it drove a lot of really good KPIs for us. And I will say, people have asked before when I've shown this, like, oh, did you change anything else? Like, there had to be some other things. This was just based off of the copy. Us putting SMS, again, we do email marketing. That's what people know us for. But we also do SMS marketing. That's a huge part of our brand now. People didn't know that. It drove 22% increase in bookings or in sales for SMS, which is incredible. Our order value went up. All of these things that we truly care about, the testing that we got from Swayable really helped us put this on the website, test it, vet it out, and then actually see real revenue, real results, basically within a week, which is crazy fast. So again, this is one of a lot of different tests that we've done. We've done more robust testing, more creative testing with Swayable. So yeah, excited to keep working with the Swayable team.
Well, thanks, you guys. I didn't want to, dominate the conversation too much. I know you guys are doing a range of testing, and we're really proud and excited to be part of it. One thing you said, Spencer, just to throw the first question maybe to you, I guess the second at this point. I liked when you said that actually we all expected this other version to work or this other message to work, and I'm interested how often internally you feel like the expert judgment is right when it's not. Is there more pushback? Can you build consensus? Talk us through the sort of politics of that.
Yeah, I think these are the external results, what we saw, but the internal results in selling the story and what Swayable did to back up that message was gigantic, because we had leaders that didn't like that message. They didn't think it was what the vision of the brand was or what would resonate the most. There was a message in there that really leaned heavily into AI. That didn't do as well. I think, again, Rachel kind of mentioned it. We talk about AI a lot. There's a time and a place, and we're heavy users of AI. We use it internally for testing, but it's a very tricky thing with consumers. We find out the more we do testing and talking to people, you got to talk about it right. So that's just a great example of the data backed up that that's what we should do. Again, it was still high stakes, but still relatively low stakes to put it on our website because it is the highest traffic area of anything that we have. But we gave our leaders the confidence that we were testing the right message because of the data we got from Swayable.
So you found there was enough trust there that they were able to say, okay, well, look, I thought this one was my favorite, but you've got some results here and we all want the business to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm curious, by the way, just so we can position the chat here, can I do a quick poll of the audience? Like, how many folks here are like professional folks in insights? Yeah, that's probably and how about marketing? Are there any folks? Yeah, so I don't know what I put my hand up. Anything else? Technology, consulting? Yeah, so primarily insights people. Okay, that's useful. I feel like that's a question insights people have a lot. You know, I've got an insight here. You know, how do I get my leaders aligned on it? So let me bring up the list of questions here that we kind of were chatting about. Unless you wanted to add anything straight to that, Rachel.
I love the fact that you get people to not drink their own Kool-Aid with data. Yeah. That makes me very happy.
So part of our whole kind of promise here in the discussion is, you know, need for speed, getting tests quickly, and you know, part of the whole idea here is like this shift from research projects to automated testing in specific circumstances where, you know, there's a defined type of experiment that you can do and do repeatedly, as your firms are doing all the time now. I'm kind of interested to hear, you know, what else are you using it for? This ability to run a quick test and generate lift. You know, we've talked about decisions about marketing, you know, innovation, or you know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my title is Chief Innovation and Brand Development Officer, so certainly the marketing and activation is a big piece of that. We have a tiny budget, and so I'm not spending huge amounts of money creative pre-testing because I don't have the money to make ads over and over and over again, to be honest. Innovation's a huge piece of what I do, and so everything that... It's been interesting to find a platform like this. I've done concept testing my entire career, and you know, you go through the same process you always did. You run the concept test, you have purchase intent, blah, blah. It's the exact same methodology as creative pre-testing, right? You're trying to drive purchase intent and interest and consideration. You're seeing where it fits in the funnel. You're seeing whether there's a specific consumer that it appeals to. As we look, and with the Fresh platform in particular, as I look across the brands that I touch now, being able to get quick insights and pivot in my innovation pipeline quickly is going to be is a huge asset. We're going to kick off another project soon where we're going through some initial qual to help us. But once I have some clear propositions, I want to test them against each other and figure out what's going to be the most interesting. And so having a rapid response model where I could look at them monadically, but then be able to compare and contrast those results, be able to have a strong enough sample size that I can derive consumer behaviors and specific consumer profiles out of it. So I won't have a typing tool necessarily to put in to look at my ICPs, but I can almost pull out ICPs from the data. If I have an N of 1,000, I get to say, oh, look, there's 200 people who look like this. That's incremental to the category. That's incremental to my brand. That's incremental to something else I have going on. This innovation adds something to my portfolio that I wouldn't have otherwise. And so for me, that's a really interesting tool to use for that. And I think I've been looking for that for quite a while. There's you know, lots of things that can give you directional reads. I'm not saying it's the only one, but I think it's now that I have proven that it works in my ad testing, it becomes something I can trust to use in other areas. And so I'm excited to see what we can do with it in innovation. I've got a whole series of concepts in the back of my head at any given time, and I just need something to help force rank my ideas, because otherwise I'm sitting here with like, the drinking the Kool-Aid, the best campaign wins. Whoever, you know, gets to the GM first gets their idea made. Usually that's me. I need something to like temper my expectations and make sure that we're going after the right thing. In a world of constrained resources, whether that's advertising, R&D resources, the ability to get things to market, a constrained freezer because there's not endless shelf in this category. You know, this is the type of thing I need to be able to make sure that we're going after the right things.
Love it. Yeah, so I heard segmentation, I heard innovation in particular. Presumably, we're talking about new product development or new, yeah. Spencer, curious on your side if there's a similar range.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't thinking about this until Rachel started talking, and then this thought kind of came into my head. And maybe you haven't heard this before, but it's been great to use. We work with Taylor a lot on your team, and she's become like a thought partner to us because she knows what we're testing. She knows our segments. She's helped us even like think through like how should we further segment and think about our ICPs. So going into this, it's like it seemed like a more it seemed like it would just be like a transactional relationship where it's like, hey, here's what we need to do, come back. But like Taylor, Tim, like they've gotten to know our data so well that it really has become a thought partnership that has informed our strategy. And going to what Rachel said too, I mean, like just honing in on the segments and like how great it's been to just like quickly think through and change things and tweak and then visualize within Swayable has been awesome. But yeah, you guys are great thought partners on this stuff.
I think just to add one more thing to that.
We're not paying these guys, by the way.
I know.
Vice versa.
We really should get on that. No, one of the things I actually referred Swayable to a friend of mine who is very early in a brand repositioning and redefining their brand. So sure, creative, almost finished film, super easy. Like you can ad test in 1,000. I grew up in the old Millward Brown ad testing era at Unilever where nothing was quite right and it was super expensive. This is a luxury. He's using it early on to help direct the direction they're even going to take their ad before they do anything with creative development, right? They're in very, very early stages with their agency, and he was thrilled to get 2-3 day turnaround, partly for this drinking Kool-Aid thing. He's got 2 founders. He's got a new board because they were just acquired, and he's the CMO. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to have that political debate over which one's right, wrong, or indifferent. I want consumers to tell us it. And so that's how he's been using the platform. I told him he needs to send me the results because since I made the reference. But I think the fact that you can use it at any point of the creative funnel and the creative development process, whether it's product, idea, finished film, digital asset, copy, I think there's something really interesting in that, is that you get this sort of ongoing thing and you can start tracking things against each other, which is really nice.
Okay, so maybe I'll throw one more question to you, and then we'll get audience questions as well to mix it up a little bit. So look, obviously, we're all big believers in getting evidence before going to market with anything that we show consumers or try to sell to them. So are we testing everything? And if not, why not? And obviously, there's some budget limit, and at some point, are we making the argument to these people that everything should be tested?
Definitely not testing everything, but I think progressively testing more than we were a year ago when I started on Mailchimp. Yeah, I think again to the root of what maybe we've alluded to a few times, it's truly Swayable has become a core component in when we are testing something bigger. Like for us, it's like maybe a multi-million-dollar campaign or uprooting our website, things that are more impactful that we do need to be more cognizant of. We have like the slide wasn't in here, but we have a whole slide deck on here's our new process, and here's like Swayable is a core component in it. Again, it is like kind of the pre-testing, but as Rachel said, that's kind of shortchanging it because it's like sometimes it's just like let's just ship it. We got it from Swayable, we're confident in it. But like for bigger things, like again, like for the bigger things that we're doing that are substantially changing high traffic pages or media campaigns or like specific assets, Swayable is a big part of that. But like again, we don't use it for everything, but we're using it for more.
Yeah, I mean, no, I can't test everything. And sometimes you have the political impact that you have to go after something. I think sometimes we have to trust. I'm a marketer, not an insights person. At some point, it's my call. And I'm going to make a decision because I know my brand. Even if it was tested perfectly, it doesn't meet the brand standards that I've set up, I'm going to make a call once in a while. I think that's true. I think if we spent all of our time testing, we lose an awful lot of time in agility, and so we need to get better. I think the more we test, the more we hone our instincts, and therefore can make some of those shorthand calls easier. For me, it's about finding the places where you're going to have the biggest impact, where you're taking the biggest risks, where you need to influence internal stakeholders or external stakeholders. And look, I think Swayable is an incredible tool. It's not going to be the thing I only use. It can't be. I think I need to make sure that I'm checking that against anything else. I need, there's different resources. I still use a lot of qual because I think that the only thing you should be putting into a quant tool is something that's been at least verified against real consumers in a dialogue involvement. I work, like I said, I work in VC. I always tell our portfolio companies, your first step on your basic insights plan is to go call your core consumers and have a conversation. Your second step is to go to the store and talk to somebody who's looking at the shelf. And your third step might be quant. And so I think that holds true whether you're a $150 million brand, a $5 million brand, or a $1 billion brand. I think our job as marketers and as insights people is to stay super curious. And if Swayable or tools like Swayable helps us get that curiosity answered and helps us stay curious, that's the stuff we'll test.
I love that. Stay curious, my friends. It feels like a good CPG commercial.
I think it was.
Who has questions for who has questions for either Rachel or Spencer? Or me, I suppose.
We've shocked them into
Any,
silence.
It's just we have one hand up here. Yeah, would you like to maybe stand up if that's all right? And could the AV folks you have a spare mic or? Yeah, maybe we'll share. Thank you. Spencer's got you.
We're hosts and...
It's a gentleman. I'm just sitting here on my butt.
I have a question for Rachel. So what metrics did you use to measure the ads against each other for Nom Nom?
I can't hear you. You have to... you have to
What
be much
metrics
louder.
did you use to measure the ads against each other for Nom Nom?
Oh, purchase intent, Jesus Christ, you have to remind me to remember the dashboard. PI and consideration is the starting point. I think the things that we were looking most heavily at was performance on brand attributes. So assuming they were equal from a purchase intent standpoint, which they largely were, at least statistically significantly, and very similar on consideration, we then looked at the brand attributes. So we had I have a set of 10 brand attributes that I'm tracking on the regular basis through my brand health tracking tool. There were areas that through a brand strategy project last year, we identified that we had weakness in, but we thought were very important arbiters of growth for us. And if we didn't solve them, we were going to stem our growth. And so we put those into our brand health tracking tool this year, and they became the basis for this questionnaire. And so there are a few key attributes that we knew we were underperforming on the first ad, that in the second ad, they actually became better. And so those were like, assuming we were not going to do anything wrong on PI and consideration on the aggregate, we could do that. The other thing we also, of course, did was segment, and not through a huge typing tool, but we knew we're a super premium brand. We're very niche in a lot of ways. If I wasn't doing this against a household income of 100K with a dog, blah, 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 like it was not the right target. So we immediately pulled it down to not the Gen Pop. We brought it down to our demographic. And also I also am a big believer in psychographic profiling. The demographic is BS to me. Like anybody can say 100K plus. For us, it was about being interested in health and wellness. There's a handful of things that we put into the initial screener to make sure that we could segment against those.
Got a question here from Emmanuel.
Thank you. I'm Emmanuel with Ipsos. This was great. Building on what we heard, Rachel, do you foresee linking creative performance to conversion or really some lower funnel touch points?
No. Here's why. We're spending almost all of our money up funnel right now. And so while Nom Nom has a heritage as a D2C brand, none of our spend right now is in D2C marketing. It's a crazy pivot. Long story, needs alcohol. We have shifted more of our efforts to what we're doing in our retail partners as we shift our focus. And so we're not spending as much on direct marketing as we had been. What we are doing with that information is helping identify that the campaign is working and bringing that campaign into lower funnel. We probably won't test every lower funnel because, like James said, you can get a lot of it through clicks and through the ROAS data that you're already getting. You get fast enough turnaround and you have enough flexibility in lower funnel conversion driving marketing to move quickly. We're not spending enough to spend time on the ad testing. I'm using the campaign to help drive the creative brief into the lower funnel, and then that's where we are, just taking a flyer on some of it and adjusting as we go.
Okay, we've probably got time for one more brief one. Can be either...
We just got to stop.
Got to stop. All right. Well, maybe we'll leave it there. Massive round of applause and thank you to
Thank you.
both of our esteemed panelists.
Thank you.
Rachel and Spencer. And feel free to mob them at the front. They will charge $5 for autographs, though.